Okay, so today we're going to dive into this YungMiami interview from Club Shay with Shannon Sharpe.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one pop up online. A lot of people talking about it.
Right, and it's a long one, but there's so much there that's worth unpacking,
Mm.
We've got excerpts from the transcript, everything from her personal life, dating relationships, to business, her thoughts on fame, really a wide range of topics.
Yeah, she's got that kind of personality where she's going to just tell you what she thinks,
Yeah.
And you know what? It's refreshing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's insightful. You get to see beyond the persona that's presented online, right? We get some real depth here.
Definitely. I mean, people know her as a rapper, of course, City Girls, but also her podcast, Resha, Please. She's an entrepreneur, and she's become this major influencer. Like, people love her catchphrases.
Totally. So let's jump into it. And they start the whole thing with this game, Resha Roulette, which has kind of become her thing, right?
Yeah, it started as a card game, and it's evolved.
I think a lot of people might have seen clips, but in this interview, they're playing the, upgraded version, the reloaded edition.
Yeah. I think they said 100 card decks in the original, plus some shot glasses. Pretty straightforward.
But now there's this whole spinning wheel with categories. Dare pay, take a shot and get wild adds a whole new layer, right?
Oh, definitely. And you never know what you're going to get. And to make it even spicier, they've got Resha Bucks.
Although she did mention they often just play with real money, which ups the ante.
For sure.
Yeah.
And they talk about some of the early rounds they play. There's this whole thing about self-checkout scams, someone trying to pay their way out of a dare with $5, accusations of cheating, and of course the now infamous loop comment. Right away, you can see her playful side, but also her kind of no BS attitude.
Yeah, it's like she's down to have fun, but she's also very much in control.
Yeah.
I think the evolution of this Resha Roulette is fascinating in itself. Like you could see her business mind at work. She started with something simple, saw how people responded, and then iterated, made it more dynamic, more interesting.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a random idea either. It came from her own observations, like watching her dad play spades, seeing how people get into those card games where money's involved.
Right. So she takes this personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
sees a broader appeal, something inherently social and competitive, and thinks, okay, I can turn this into something.
Like she does. It's not just a hobby. It's a product she's selling. She involves a creative director to really develop the game properly. And that timeline, 6 months from concept to a playable game, that's impressive.
And the playtesting, really thinking through those cards, making sure they're going to land the right way.
She even said she was willing to revise stuff, like while they were in production, if something wasn't working. She was very hands-on in the process.
Right. So she's brainstorming a lot of the ideas herself,
Yeah.
but also getting input from others. It's that balance of having your vision, but being open to collaboration.
And it's smart. You get different perspectives, make the game resonate with more people, and then you've got those wild card elements like the Get Wild category. That's where things can get really unpredictable.
I mean, Shannon brought up that example about the body massage.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what could happen?
Right. And then there's her advice about who to avoid playing this game with. Like she specifically says, no romantic partners and no mothers.
Yeah, that tells you something about the kind of stuff that's in those cards.
Yeah.
The potential for drama, maybe some uncomfortable truths coming out.
Exes, phone snooping things you might not want to surface with your significant other or your mom. It's all in good fun, but it's definitely designed to push buttons.
So let's get into her thoughts on dating and relationships, because she gets pretty candid about her expectations and, her experiences.
Oh, yeah. She lays it all out.
Like starting with first dates, she paints a very specific picture of what she wants, like the full red carpet treatment.
She wants the guy to take charge, plan everything, even pick her up. Though she did acknowledge, trust issues these days. Maybe an Uber is safer.
But the sentiment's there, that old school chivalry. She still appreciates it. Opening the door, a curated playlist, good conversation, walking her to the door, and that good morning text the next day. It's all about effort.
And she's not into boring dates either. Like, if you can't hold a conversation, that's a deal breaker for her. You got to be able to connect on an intellectual level.
She even has a preferred seating arrangement for the first date. Across from each other initially, for that eye contact, and then maybe side by side later.
It's very intentional, right? Like, she's thinking about how to build intimacy and, what works for her.
And she's vocal about the red flags, too. Like, bad conversation, being on your phone during the date, that's a no-go.
Whereas if a guy consistently follows up, checks in on how her day is going, those are the green flags. She wants to see that effort.
And she's a texter, not a caller. At least initially, FaceTime comes later.
It's a very modern way of getting to know someone, right? You can control the pace and the level of interaction.
So she was asked about her type. And she's open to athletes, but she leans towards entertainers.
She made that funny comment about athletes being too damn serious. Like they're so focused on their routines and their careers, it can be a bit much.
And even though she hasn't seriously dated an athlete, she did say she'd be open to being set up with CJ Stroud.
I saw that got people talking. And she doesn't do dating apps either.
Which makes sense. You know, given her position, I'm sure her DMs are pretty active.
Oh, yeah. And she's cool with kissing on the first date if the vibe is right. Not a hard rule either way.
It's all about the connection.
Mm.
And she's very clear that if you ask her out, you plan the date. It's like an unspoken rule.
Yeah, she's not going to do all the work for you. So how does she handle it when she's losing interest?
She kind of withdraws, becomes less responsive. Not the most direct approach, but A, gets the message across.
And then she talked about this idea of, being a high-value woman and that fear of being trapped, which is an interesting perspective.
She acknowledges it, that some people might be trying to get at her for the wrong reasons, but she feels very in control of her life, her choices.
And her focus on co-parenting over just, child support payments is really admirable. It's about putting the kids' well-being first, not just the financial aspect.
And she wants more kids.
Hmm.
Aims for 5 total, and a family-oriented partner. That's a big part of what she's looking for in the long run.
Yeah, it's clear that family is a huge priority for her. And of course, she talked about her soft girl era, which a lot of people related to.
Yeah, that focus on peace, self-care, positivity.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. But she did joke that next year she might be back to being toxic.
Which is hilarious and also realistic. Like, we all have those phases.
Now, the topic that got everyone talking was money and relationships.
Oh, yeah, that $1,000 comment.
I mean, it was clearly a playful thing.
Yeah.
But it does raise a bigger point about expectations and how you want to be treated in a relationship.
Especially given her lifestyle. Miami is expensive.
Mm.
And she did say she wouldn't send back $250, would still appreciate it.
It wasn't just about the amount, it was with a gesture. But she does value experiences, memories over just material things, though she still likes romantic gestures.
That balance is important, right? You want to feel appreciated, but it doesn't always have to be about the most expensive gift.
And she's a fan of a man who takes the lead, plans things. That seems to be consistent.
Initiative is key. And then she dropped that line about relationships and marriage becoming transactional. Nobody marrying a broke-ass man.
It was blunt, but it reflects a certain reality, right? Financial stability is a factor for a lot of people these days, and she sees marriage very much as a contract.
Yeah, it's a pragmatic view, maybe less romantic in a traditional sense. But she's cool with just having a boo, too. Doesn't need the paperwork.
It's about finding what works for you. And on the topic of gifts, she's more about the thought, the feeling behind it, not necessarily the frequency.
Though she did tell that story about getting a Crocodile Kelly bag on a first date, so she's not opposed to a grand gesture either.
And her comment about men tricking more these days with designer gifts, I think a lot of women can relate to that.
There's a certain awareness there, like, okay, is this genuine or is this a tactic? And when it comes to taking gifts back, she's got no qualms about it. Give me back my shit.
But she also believes a man shouldn't ask for gifts back. It's a matter of principle.
And on the topic of being the breadwinner in a relationship,
She said it's happened, and it's about finding that balance. She still wants to feel special, even if she's making more.
it's about mutual support, but also feeling appreciated and celebrated.
And she's open to dating older men, even cited that half my age plus 7 rule.
So she's got a range in mind, and she feels ready to settle down now in her early 30s, especially wanting a father figure for her son.
That's a big motivation.
Yeah.
And her views on cheating were interesting. Willing to give a second chance, recognizing it happens to both men and women, but she has a limit.
Probably get like 4 times. That was pretty specific.
But polyamory roster, that's a hard no. I just can't do a roster.
Fair enough. And she shut down those Stephon Diggs rumors, put that to rest. And her youngest she'd date is 25.
So boundaries are set. And when asked about the biggest lesson she's learned about relationships, she said, everybody be lying.
Ooh, a little cynical, but maybe true.
But ultimately, it's about finding that real connection, being on the same page.
Which is what we all want, right?
So let's talk about her Miami roots, because they clearly had a huge impact on who she is.
She describes Miami as fast-paced. She saw a lot at a young age, and it made her resilient. Having to raise her siblings when her mom was in prison, that's a lot to handle.
It definitely forces you to grow up fast. And she says it didn't completely rob her of her childhood, but it built her strength.
And she was popular in school, stylish a cheerleader, even hood famous, hosting events.
So she always had that charisma, that presence, and her mom's connections, her godmother being Trina, that all played a role too.
Right. Miami's a place where those networks matter.
Right.
And her start in rapping was almost accidental. JT wanted to make a diss track, and that became their first song.
Talk about a turning point. And she had those ties to the music scene even before City Girls, like being at Trick Daddy's video shoots, knowing Rick Ross through family. It's all connected. And the name City Girls came straight from Coach K at QC, playing off the Hot Boys association with Miami.
Simple but effective branding. And here's a fun fact. She originally wanted to be a mortician.
I know, right? Totally different path. Fascinated by the afterlife.
And she gives Drake major credit for putting City Girls on the map. That, in my feelings, feature was huge.
It introduced them to a whole new audience. And she doesn't see a Kendrick Lamar collab happening anytime soon.
Interesting. Maybe a sign of where things are in hip-hop right now.
And her favorite artists, Usher, Sexy Red, Doja Cat, Cardi B. It's a mix.
Shows her range. And she had some thoughts on female rap dynamics, saying a lot of the beef comes down to ego.
She'd like to see more unity among female artists, which is a positive message.
Definitely. And she was pretty critical of DJ Academics, felt his comments can be too personal, disrespectful, especially regarding the shooting incident.
Which was a very traumatic experience for her. She's open to having him on her podcast, though, to try and understand his perspective.
That takes maturity. And her talking about her unreleased music, it sounds like there's some pressure there to follow up that initial success.
It's hard to maintain that momentum.
Yeah.
And she's learned that fame comes with both love and hate. You got to keep going regardless.
It's not all it's cracked up to be. She thought it would be lights, camera, action, but it's way more complicated.
So she talked about societal pressures, body image, and how it affects women.
She believes there's this huge pressure to get cosmetic surgery because of unrealistic beauty standards.
And she pointed out the double standard women face, whether they're natural or enhanced, using Lizzo as an example.
You get criticized either way. And she made that funny comment about being able to spot fake abs on men.
So she's observant. And she raised a good point about why some in the Black community might tear down successful figures.
She thinks it might be rooted in stereotypes, a lack of support compared to other communities. It's a conversation worth having.
Now, beyond music, she's got big ambitions. She wants to do it all. The sky's the limit.
And she talked about her experience on the show BMF. It was nerve-wracking at first, but 50 Cent was really supportive.
Mentorship is so important. And she's tried reality TV, but found it too fake. She only wants to do something that's truly her.
That authenticity matters to her. And she shared that story about the drive-by shooting while she was pregnant, which is terrifying.
It's a reminder of the risks she's faced. But she's not leaving Miami. Her roots are there.
So let's talk about her as a mom. She describes herself as a regular mom with respectful kids.
She's proud of her son's achievements, his responsibility. And she's not a pushover parent. She sets boundaries.
She also talked about her approach to her children's father's current partners, keeping a distance for the sake of the kids.
It's about putting their well-being first. And while she lets her son be on social media, she prefers to keep her kids' lives private.
It's protective instinct, understandable in this day and age. She also reflected on raising her oldest son after his father passed away.
And she talked about her mom's struggles with addiction and incarceration with a lot of understanding, no resentment.
She recognizes her mom had a tough life, and she shared her own experience with domestic violence at a young age.
It's a powerful message to others in similar situations to leave, to know it's not love.
And she's had partners who felt insecure about her success, which is unfortunately common.
But she says her mental health is better now after a rough year. She's moving forward.
That resilience is admirable. Now, on the business side, she emphasized the importance of a good lawyer, understanding contracts, owning your stuff.
It's a lesson she learned the hard way. And marketing is key to selling anything, especially Resha Roulette.
She's using her website, Amazon, and social media to get the word out.
And she wants to build a business empire like Kim Kardashian and Razos. Rihanna music isn't the end goal.
She's got big plans. And her favorite podcast guest was Kevin Gates. She loves his unfiltered energy.
She was aware of Mari, the scientist's past relationship with Lil Yachty, and felt Mari was ready to share that.
So she's attuned to her guests, and she addressed winning podcast awards despite having a newer show.
She credits it to the unique format, the engaging content like the car back question.
Which was a viral moment, for sure. And she's on good terms with Joe Budden. They just have different career stages.
And that ending with the sneaky link was hilarious. She wouldn't reveal hers, but she took the shots.
It was playful teasing.
And she kept her relationship status a bit vague, but did reiterate her age range.
Some things are still private. And Shannon praised her unreleased music, especially that intro track.
It's meant to be a statement of her return, confident, unapologetic.
A power move. So for all you listeners out there, here's what we learned about YungMiami. She's a savvy businesswoman with Resha Roulette. She's open and honest about relationships, and she's incredibly resilient.
Her Miami upbringing shaped her, and her ambitions extend way beyond music. She's building a brand, an empire.
And what's really fascinating is how she blends her artistry with her business smarts and her grounded perspective on life. It makes you think about how we all navigate our public and private selves, what we choose to reveal and what remains hidden.
In an age where everything is so connected, so scrutinized, it's a valid question. What are our own sneaky links, so to speak?
It's about balancing vulnerability and self-protection in both our personal and professional lives.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into young Miami's world. It's been a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
And that's it for today, folks. Catch you next time.